And welcome back to the channel where we talk about only good comics. I'm Brant, and this is Friday First. This is the show where we talk about brand new number one issues, new story arcs, new character debuts, and the like for the coming week, which this week it is going to be for books coming out on April 3rd. So, before we get into anything else, this is a special episode of the show. This is episode 26, which means I have been doing this series, Friday First, consecutively for 6 months now. Haven't missed a week, 26 episodes in a row. Pretty proud of that accomplishment. Thank you for everybody that's been watching from the beginning, or if you're brand new to it or to the channel in general. I appreciate you. Thank you. I'm doing this for you and for me, and I know that some of you are enjoying it. So, again, thank you very much. I'm pretty excited about making it 6 months without missing a week. That is a record for me. It's a pretty cool one as far as YouTube goes. So I'm pretty stoked about it. And so episode 26, and it's a big one. We've got a lot of books to talk about. So I'm going to do that where I started with a few of the books from last week that I read. I've read 3 of them so far, the number ones. So the 3 books I'm going to talk about before we get into the anticipated books are X-Men 97 number 1, Feral number 1, and Jackpot and Black Cat number 1. So we'll start with X-Men 97. You know, obviously an anticipated book. The animated series just debuted as well. Nostalgia is in full gear. It's been going for a while, let's be honest, but it was 80s nostalgia. Now we're into the 90s nostalgia. We got the X-Men coming back, and this book really did fill the gap between the previous animated show and the current animated show, because as we start the new animated show, Jean Grey's pregnant. Well, this book is when she finds out she's pregnant and has to tell Cyclops about it. So obviously they've aged up the show a little bit from the audience that it served back in the 90s. I thought it did a really good job of, again, connecting the 2 series and being a preamble for the current animated series, kind of set all the pieces into place where you knew exactly where they're going to start with the animated series. So in that regard, I thought it did a good job. It does read very much like an animated show, in that at times it talks down to the audience, not in a demeaning way, but like it over explains at different points certain things, which was a hallmark of shows back in the day. And it kind of continues in this book. So that's a little bit of a nitpick. Storm's reasoning for changing her hair, I mean, I don't mind her changing her hair, but her reasoning for doing so was a little weird and a little weak. But other than that, I thought it was fine. There was another nitpick I had, and I'm trying to remember what it was now. I can't remember. There was something else that stood out to me, and I just had it a second ago, and it totally went over my head. But overall, I thought it was a decent. But I know what it was. Because it was kind of oversized, it felt like 2 episodes of an animated series instead of like 1, as it probably should have been. So it felt a little bit long, especially with the over-explaining. It felt like a little in the middle. It was a bit of a drudge to get through the rest of it. But all in all, I think it was a decent gap filler. And if that's what you're looking for in this book, which is the purpose it served, and you're a big fan of the X-Men animated from the 90s or the current one, this is, worth reading. It's a decent read. Do you have to read it? No. But, if you want that full story, you get it there. So, all right. Next up, we have Feral, issue number 1. This was everything I wanted it to be. I was a huge fan of Stray Dogs. Basically, both Stray Dogs and Feral are a Disney animated series taken to a dark, grim, and violent place. And that's what the appeal of it is, really, because it's got that cute Disney-like animated vibe to the art, but it's very dark and serious circumstances. So in Stray Dogs, it was a serial killer. In this one, it's a rabies outbreak. And I thought they set all the pieces in motion for this first issue, kicked it off great. Mystery, you don't really know what's going on. It's the perfect analog for a zombie apocalypse in pet form. the way that they set this up, because the truck mysteriously, for no apparent reason that we know of, turns over and all the cats get loose and they start encountering these rabid animals and they can't explain why they're like that. You have three lead characters in Patch, Elsie, and Lord. Elsie, obviously the middle ground, motherly kind of nurturing type, where you have Patches. You kind of get the vibe maybe Patch is a little bit older, more cynical, more stubborn, set in their ways. And then you have Lord, who is the young, naive, exuberant one, but that is always in the mix of everything. So he actually has more knowledge than the other two, because he went out venturing as soon as the truck went over. Whereas Patch wouldn't move, and Elsie was just like, "We got to get home." So really great setup to this first issue. And also, I did not know until I read the back matter that this is an ongoing series. Stray Dogs was a mini series. I assumed this one was going to be as well. And I think last week I actually said this was from Boom Studios. I meant to say Image Comics. I don't know why I said Boom, but anyway, it's from Image. Same creators behind Stray Dogs. And I'm kind of really excited. Now, I'm more of a dog person. I don't generally like cats, and I'm allergic to them, so it's a double whammy. But in animated form or in art form, cats are cute. In real life form, they're cute too. I can't deny that. They're just not my thing. So I'm more of a dog person, but if the cat series is the one that I get ongoing, I will take it, because I love this kind of, I don't know, it's the contrast of the cuteness factor with the dire, grim circumstances that just appeals to me. And I thought this was a fantastic first issue. It was great, and I loved it. And finally, we have Jackpot and Black Cat issue 1. Same creative team that did the one-shot during Gang War. I thought this was better than the Gang War one-shot. Obviously, you have more room to tell the story in this, so it was able to slow down a little bit. Just a couple of nitpicks I have. One of the same nitpicks I had during the Gang War one-shot was that Mary Jane came into her heroing abilities and know-how way too easily. She didn't earn it, and I feel like that continued here. It just felt like she knew what she was doing from the jump and didn't really earn that experience. Regardless of her being around superheroes for most of her adult life, she still should not just know how to do it. You know what I mean? So I thought that's a little bit of a stumble. And then Black Cat didn't completely fill in character, just because I don't think the Black Cat, especially the version we've been reading for the past few years, would be bothered by somebody threatening her or even a loved one. I get that she's trying to protect her girlfriend, and that's fine. And, she's, kind of playing by the rules because of that. But I think the Black Cat that we've come to know over the past few years has grown and matured to a point where that wouldn't stop them. They would figure out a way to find out who's behind this without, and be willing to rock the boat a little bit. And I just thought that was a little bit out of character. So I'm hoping there's a little bit more to the story. Like Mary Jane alluded to it. She found out about the girlfriend, thought that was the more, but I'm hoping there's even more behind why Black Cat is hesitant to act on this. If not, I'm going to be a little bit disappointed with kind of a little of, what's the word? Just kind of going backwards on the growth that character had. But overall, I thought it was a decent read. Not my favorite book by far, but definitely better than that Gang War one-shot, which I still didn't think was terrible. I actually still enjoyed the book. I just had a few nitpicks, and I still have the same nitpicks, but this was still told better. So there you go. With that said, let's get into this week's books. All right, so we're going to start with our honorable mentions. I have 4 this week, and you're probably surprised by this one being an honorable mention. I will explain it. So we have a bunch of these Ghost Machine books coming out this week. This one being my first honorable mention, Geiger issue number 1, written by Jeff Johns. The reason this one landed in the honorable mention section instead of the main section is because I didn't love the first volume. It wasn't for me. I ended up dropping it. So this is the one title from the Ghost Machine line that I'm most hesitant about. I'm still going to try it, but I don't have my hopes up just because the first volume just wasn't my thing. Not a bad book. It just wasn't my thing. So We'll see, but I definitely wanted to mention it because it is like the flagship title that kind of launched the whole line. So it would be weird not to have it in here and mention the others. So I definitely wanted to give a shout out to Geiger, issue number 1. Next up is Godzilla versus Mighty Morphin Power Rangers 2. I don't usually go in on these kind of crossover books unless it's like two franchises that I absolutely love, like Power Rangers and TMNT. And especially with the monster stuff, I'm one of those people. I don't love all the monster stuff, the Godzilla, King Kong stuff. I'm not a huge fan of the classic stuff. I like the current, live action stuff we're getting, but I never really them in comic form has never really appealed to me. So I don't usually go out of my way to get these. But I have friends like Mike Spider Slayer usually tries these out. I think Kat even tried the first one out of these. So I have friends that like these and are always trying them and picking them up. This one is written by Cullen Bunn, which is also cool. So I definitely wanted to include it on the list so you're aware of it in case you weren't. So go check that out from IDW, Godzilla versus Mighty Morphin Power Rangers 2, issue number 1. The next honorable mention is Impossible Team Up, Impossible Jones and Holly Days, issue number 1. This is from Scout Comics. The reason I put this one on here is I did some cross promoting. We did some cross promoting with Comic Book Weekly and Impossible Jones on Kickstarter at one point. Carl is a friendly, decent guy, great creator. I actually like the Impossible Jones series. I think the characters are fun and adventurous and just kind of harken back to some old school stuff. So I definitely wanted to include this shout out here. If you're not familiar with Impossible Jones, this would be a cool one to check out because it's a team up between two characters, Impossible Jones and Holly Days. And I have read one thing with Holly Days in it, which was a lot of fun as well. So yeah, go check that out from Scout Comics. And Carl Kiesel and David Hahn are the creative team behind that. And the final honorable mention is purely for my friend Kat. This is Hack Slash Kill Your Idols, issue number 1. She's a big Hack Slash fan. I've barely read any Hack Slash personally. Just one of those things that I missed the boat on and just never jumped on. So it's not any kind of dislike or whatever. It's just one of those things I never tried really. This is by Tim Seeley and Stefano Caselli. And this is Cassie and Block countering an unusual slasher in a cyborg form. So, and it looks like it harkens back to those 90s. You got, looks like you got Patriot, Super Patriot in there. And I don't know, that dude looks like Cable, but it can't be Cable, right? But very 90s style characters in this book. So if that is your thing, or if you're a big Hack Slash fan, go check that one out. All right, let's get into those most anticipated books. The first one is Minor Threats, The Fastest Way Down. This is the next chapter of the Minor Threats series by Patton Oswalt and Jordan Bloom, the showrunners behind MODOK, on Hulu, and of course, other things that they're known for, of course. And I really enjoyed the previous Minor Threats books. I don't know if you've checked them out. I thought they were a lot of fun. In this one, Playtime, which is the main character, has won atop the heap, and I guess this is her way to come back down from all that. So it could be interesting to see how the greatest hero and the greatest villain, they're all dead. Now she's at top of everything, and how that's all going to fall apart. They describe it as Watchmen meets The Wire. I don't. It's definitely not quite as serious as The Watchmen or The Wire, but there are definitely dire or consequences in this book. It's just more of a artistic, stylistic art style on the book than you would see in like a Watchmen or something like that. So it has like a fun factor to the art. Kind of a classic, just fun adventure comic, but with bloody battles and death all around and bad guys winning. So if that's your thing, check it out. I'm giving this one a promisingly good, just because I enjoyed the previous ones. Next up is Spider-Man Shadow of the Green Goblin, issue number 1. I believe this is a one-shot. And the reason, now this is by J.M. DeMatteis, but this I'll tell you a little bit about this book, and then I'll tell you why it's on my list. So this is about the first Green Goblin, who apparently is not Norman Osborn, but a proto-goblin, which I assume it's somebody that tested out the gear for Norman before he put his body at risk, but I don't know exactly. It does say it has a connection to the Osborn family, so we'll have to see who this person actually ends up being. The reason I was curious about this was the timing, because we know there's a new Green Goblin coming and we don't know who it is. And I wondered if maybe this had hints to that character. And so I wanted to check it out to see if there was any tie, or if this was just a random thing, or if it was timed in, in order to encourage people to buy it because of that maybe curiosity to see if there was a tie to it. But anyway, that's why it's on my radar. So I'm going to give this one a possibly good. It's the only possibly good I have on the list, which is my lowest rating because I just don't know enough about it. And it obviously doesn't tie into anything directly. So there you go. Next up is Deadpool issue number 1. Yes, Deadpool has relaunched once again. The reason this time around got my attention is because Cody Ziegler is writing this. Cody Ziegler currently writes Miles Morales and also Spider-Punk Arms Race. And I really enjoy Ziegler's take on both of those characters. I enjoy Ziegler's writing. So I'm like, well, sometimes I like Deadpool. Sometimes I get tired of Deadpool, but I always give Deadpool a try. And with a writer that I really like what they're doing on a couple of other titles, I should definitely give this one a try. So this one also introduces a new villain, so it's a double whammy for this one. It's a first appearance and a number 1 issue. So if you're a collector, you want to check this one out as well. Next up is Shazam issue number 10. The reason this one is on the list is because the new creative team takes over with this issue. It's Josie Campbell and Emanuela Lupacchino. Josie Campbell wrote the Mary Marvel one, the most recent one. The I forget what it's called, the Next Marvel or something like that. So obviously, if you enjoyed that miniseries, or was it a miniseries or one? I think it was a miniseries. You might enjoy this one as well. I'm curious to see what they can do, if they can turn the book around. I think Mark Waid's run was decent. I enjoyed it, but it didn't blow me away. And there was definitely I don't know, down issues for me in that run. So I'm ready for something new. We have, I don't know. It doesn't tell much about the actual arc, and it just kind of recaps what came before. So I guess we're going to find out when we read it what happens with this one. It does say Moving Day Part 1. So I guess they get to move into the new domicile since Black Adam and Shazam kind of tore it apart in the previous arc. So I'm really curious to see what Campbell and Lupacchino do. I love Lupacchino's art, and I did like that Mary Marvel series, so hopefully this one is really good. Now we're heading back to that Ghost Machine universe. We've got Redcoat issue number 1, series premiere key issue. This is by Jeff Johns and Brian Hitch, and it is set in that world. Character ties into Geiger. This, in the preview book that they put out, this character was pretty interesting. Kind of an immortal character, was alive around the Civil War and is still around. Kind of doing the hero thing, I guess, or maybe the villain thing. I don't remember exactly. And there's some kind of mysterious organization, which is always a pull for me. It's secretly shaped America and the world, and Simon's on a quest to find out, more about that. So that's interesting as well. Seems like a brash, kind of comical, kind of quippy character. Somebody that lives and dies, and I'm sure they're going to kind of play into that as well. And as far as the emotional toll that takes on a person. So I'm curious about this one. I'm definitely checking this one out. I think I forgot to rate the last few, and I just realized that. Potentially good for both Deadpool and Shazam. I apologize for that. I forgot to rate those. Hopefully I'll remember to still pop up the graphic there so you'll know. but I did want to mention that. But this one I'm giving a promisingly good, just because I got really good vibes from that preview book. Then we have another one from the Ghost Machine line, which is Rook Exodus issue number 1, also by Jeff Johns and art by Jason Fabok. I love Jason Fabok's art, and of all the Ghost Machine books, this was the one I was most excited about. These people that have these masks that control different types of animals, and they're on this planet, and they're kind of stuck there, and they're these wardens. The concept sounded really cool to me. The art looks really good. And I'm just excited about this one. It's a sci-fi series, but it just, I don't know. There was just something about this one. Just the visuals and everything about it just really appealed to me. So I cannot wait for this one. I think it's going to be really good. And I'm giving this one also a promisingly good. And hopefully I'm not wrong. Hopefully this one just blows me away. And last but not least, we have The Sacrificers, issue number 7. The reason this one is in here is it is a brand new story arc. It took a short break, and now it is back. This is Rick Remender's series with Max Fiumura and Dave McCaig. And I absolutely love the first arc. Just a phenomenal read, really gut-wrenching, emotional at points. And we left off with the Pigeon character getting the godlike abilities, and the daughter of the god Seluna is like close to death, on the run, has no power, and now the world is destructing and everything. So it's crazy. It's starting off hot. It's starting off action heavy. So it's going to be really interesting to see where things build from here. And because I'm so familiar with this series and I know what to expect, I'm giving this one the one and only this week, positively good, because I just don't see how it could be bad when all the previous 6 issues were really good. So that's my thoughts on Sacrificers. I think it's going to be really good. So that's it. That's everything. That's all the books we have to talk about. Some other books that I'm looking forward to real quick: Void Rivals number 8, The Avengers number 12, Sensational She-Hulk number 7, and Birds of Prey number 8 are all on my radar, along with all of these that I've already talked about. So those are some of the books that I'm really looking forward to. And will definitely be on my pull list. I'm curious to see what's on yours. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of any of these books. Would love to hear your take on these new number 1s. All right, so that's it though. That's all I got to talk about this week. Thank you again for sticking with me through 6 months of this show, 26 weeks consecutively. Really proud of that accomplishment. Can't wait to do even more. So with that note, if you did like this episode and all the previous 25, give me a thumbs up. Really does help. And hit that subscribe and notification bell so you don't miss any of the content going up on this channel. Of course, you can follow me across social media at Only Good Comics, and type in onlygoodcomics.com in your browser to head right back here to the YouTube channel where we talk about Only Good Comics. Until next time, thanks for watching. Take care. Keep reading those comics, and I'll see you soon.